Hello there, and welcome to the Double Zero Challenge channel. We do just one thing on this channel, and it's to take these two dice and see how long it takes before we can roll a double zero. If you would like to play along, please write down your guess now. All I ask is that you keep it to yourself, don't write it in the comments, let other people watch the video and find out for themselves. There will be other things to explain as we go along, but let's get cracking. So, roll number one. And that is a 2 and a 4. I'll read them all out as we go. And that's a 5 and a 2. And that's a 3 and a 2. We have a 2 and an 8. That's a 0, but it's a 2. Remember, we're looking for a double zero. And that's a 0, but a 4. And that's an 8 and a 3. And we have an 8 and a 3 again. Oops. And we have a 7 and a 3. If you're a regular viewer, you will know there's minimal editing on this channel, so if anything like that happens, you will likely see it. And that is a 9 and a 7 there. And we have a 7 and a 6. And that's a 3 and a 1. And we have a 5 and a 4, the 5 jumping out of its confines. And that's a 6 and an 8. And we have a 5 and an 8. And that's a 6 and a 7. We have a 9 and a 2. And that's a 0 and a 1. That's a 3 and a 6. And that is a double 3. Now, we will take account of any any doubles rather we encounter, partly for fun and partly because statistically there should be 10 doubles on the way up to 100 rolls, which is the hypothetical odds. So that's the first double out of 20 rolls. Of course, hypothetical odds really mean nothing in a real world context. That's 8 and 9. And that is an 8 and a 3. Oh, here we go. And we have a 4 and a 9. That's a 0, but it's an 8. And that's a 0, but it's a 6. And that's a 2 and a 9. And we have a 9 and a 5. And that's a 6 and an 8. And we have a 2 and a 1. And that's a 2 and a 7. And we have a 6 and a 1. That's a 0, but it's a 3. And that's a 3 and a 2. And we have a 5 and a 9. And that is a 6 and a 3. We have a 7 and a 9. And that's a 2 and a 4. And that's a 0, but it's a 9. That's a 0, but it's a 2. We have a 4 and a 5. And that's a 6 and a 9. And we have a 5 and a 6 there. And that's a 2 and a 7. We have a double 5, only the second double of the session so far. And that is a 4 and a 1. Now, every 50 rolls, we make it a big one. We'll have take this cup, roll it in double hands. That's coming up in just a moment. But first, we have a 4 and a 5. And that is a 9 and a 6. 3 and a 2. And that's a 0, but it's a 5. And for rule number 50, we make it a big one. That is a 5 and a 3. So we'll carry on for 100 rolls. And next we have a 3 and a 2. And that's a 2 and a 9. And we have a 4 and a 9. And that's a 4 and a 1. And we have a 6 and a 5. And that's a 2 and an edge roll there with 9. And we have a 2 and a 5. That's a 0, but it's an 8. And we have a 4 and a 6. And we have a 9 and a 3. And that's a double 8, only the third double of the session. So we'll put that on the bottom row. It's a 3 and a 5. And that's a 3 and a 7. And we have a 5 and a 6. And that's a 4 and a 2. We have a 0, but we have a 3. And we have a 0, but a 5. And that's a 4. And way off in the distance there, that is a 1. That's a 4 and an 8 there. And a 1 and a 3. And we have a double 6, which would be great if we were using D6s, but we are using D10s. So on we go. And that's a 5 and an 8. And we have a 5 and a 1. And that's a 0, but it's a 2. We have a 7 and a 3. And that's a 9 and a 7. We have a 0, but we have a 9. And that's a 4 and a 7. Oh, we have a flyer again. It is a double 4, and that is our fifth double of the session. 8's a 7 and a 9. And we have an edge roll. So we've got a 1, we've got either a 3 or a 5, doesn't matter either way, but let's gently tap the board to see which way it sits. So it's a 5 and a 1, just for completion. And that is a 5 and a 6. And that is a double 4. And we have a 9 and a 3. And that is a double 0. So we have 85 rolls before we got there, and only 6 other doubles against, well, hypothetical odds are 1 in 100, so we'd expect to see a couple more doubles up to that point. However, like I say, hypothetical odds don't mean much in the real world. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. You take care and roll on next time.